welcome. You're watching NewsX and I'm Shivani Singh. We are tracking the latest developments regarding the war in West Asia. Israel has launched airstrikes targeting central and western Iran in response to the missile fire from Tehran. Now, attacks that threaten to drag the wider Middle East back into a regional war. Iranian state television has reported the sound of explosions being heard in Isfahan, in Karaj, in Tabriz and Tehran without immediately elaborating. A witness in Tehran has described hearing at least one large blast somewhere to the west of the country's capital city. Iran has closed the airspace around Tehran's Imam Khomeini International Airport and the country's main airfield after the Israeli attack. Now, Iranian officials have offered no details on what had been struck, nor any damage information has been given. Iran's paramilitary Revolutionary Guard Corps has said that Israel used air-launched ballistic missiles in its attack on Monday morning without elaborating any further. Now, let's look at what has happened because of these strikes. The stock markets have showed a very weak start today as rising crude oil prices. There's fresh tensions in the Middle East and growing concerns about higher US interest rates, which weigh on the investor sentiment. Gift Nifty futures were trading at 23,138 at around 8:06 a.m. IST, indicating that the Nifty 50 could open about 1% lower than its previous close of 23,366.70. The weak signals are in line with a broad sell-off across Asian markets and concerns that global investors may continue pulling money out of riskier assets. Higher crude oil prices are usually negative for India because the country imports more than 85% of its crude oil requirements. Now, raising oil prices can increase inflation and widen the trade deficit and put the pressure on the rupee as well. Joining us on the broadcast is Dr. Sharat Kohli, who's a senior economist. Thank you so much, Dr. Kohli. A very good morning to you. And obviously, Dr. Kohli, we're looking at a renewed, phase of this war between Israel and Iran. These missiles don't seem, now both the sides seem to have accepted that they do not want to negotiate any further. Hostilities are continuing, and obviously we are seeing a drastic impact on the market. Sensex is down, Nifty is down, the rupee has fallen, sir. What are your first observations regarding this, Dr. Kohli?
Good morning, Shivani, to you and the viewers, although the morning is not all that good as far as the world is concerned, because war resuming is not good news, as you rightly said. It's neither good for crude oil. Crude oil is back to being at 96, 97. With a chance of rising further as the aggression aggravates. And of course, the markets reacted very sharply in the morning. Now it's slightly better. The Indian markets down, Nifty down by about 150 to 160 points. And, gold and silver prices are also down because bond yields in America have shot up. The bond yield at this point of time is 4.6, the 10-year bond yield. The dollar index measured against 6 prime currencies of the world is beyond 100. So all the economic and financial parameters which govern the markets and which markets generally look at, with the fear of inflation rising, we all know that LPG prices in India have been raised by another 29 rupees. And as per the oil marketing companies, another 700 rupees per cylinder is the under recovery. So that doesn't sound very good because there could be chances of more price rise, which is going to affect the man on the street. The more vulnerable class, which is the lower middle class, the poor people, and the middle class. They are the ones who are going to be tremendously impacted as we move forward, because even the petrol diesel hike of 7.5 rupees is gradually going to seep into all the commodities as the transporters start passing on the diesel price hike. So not very good news. Also, the Indian economy is doing fairly well. We have the GDP numbers of 7.7, 7.8. But RBI has expressed not great hope of the GDP rising. It says it will fall down to 6.6%, maybe lower. There's tremendous amount, Shivani, of uncertainty. More than the parameters, I would say the uncertainty, because none of us know how long this war is going to drag on, how long Strait of Hormuz is going to remain closed, how long the supply disruptions will remain. So overall, there is uncertainty which is causing more of a concern, more than the parameters that I just spoke of. It's the situation of uncertainty. So I think we have to somehow, this war has to take a decisive turn now either way. I don't know what's on the mind of President Trump and Iran for that matter, because Israel has now again got very aggressive, and President Trump has told Israel not to counterattack Iran, but I don't think, Netanyahu is going to listen to that. So it's a very, very complex situation, I would say, geopolitically. And obviously it's causing the fallout on geoeconomics, Shivani.
Dr. Kohli, if I can request you to please stay on with us. We're also tracking, apart from the markets, we're tracking crude oil prices, which have jumped over 3% as the Middle East conflict has escalated after Israel launched renewed strikes on Lebanon, despite a truce between the two countries, eroding hopes for an end to the wider US-Iran war and a restart to crude flows through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, market sentiment weakened after Israel's latest strikes on Lebanon and Iran reduced expectations of a US-Iran agreement and the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, which is a key global oil transit route. Iran had reportedly linked a ceasefire in Lebanon to progress its diplomatic engagement with Washington. Let's in fact take a look at some of the crude oil prices and give you an overall perspective of how the oil prices look like. Right now, let's look at the first one, which is WTI crude, which is in the US. The last known price is around $93.84 per barrel. There has been a change in the upward direction of $3.30. So you are seeing an increase of $3 and a percentage change of 3.68% upwards. So this is the latest in the US WTI crude. Let's also look at Brent crude, which is used as a tracking mechanism in the United Kingdom. The last known price is around $96.60. A change of $3.51 increase has happened because of these circumstances, and the percentage change stands at around 3.91 upwards. Let's look at Murban crude in Oman. The last known price that we have is around $90.68 per barrel. The change is in the negative of $2.82, and the change percentage is around 3.02% in the negative as well. Remember that these are prices, all these, the Oman, and we have Kuwait, we have all these Gulf countries which were producing a lot of oil, but because of strikes, their production capacity has also gone down. So prices are also affected because of that. Let me go across to Dr. Kohli again for this, and let's get a overview of how the situation will look like. Dr. Kohli, the world obviously since the start of this war has been scrambling to make sure that a wider energy crisis does not hit various countries, and they have been looking at alternate sources. But now that the war is again escalating, we're trying to see, some kind of negotiations on the Strait of Hormuz. That has not happened now, and with the rise in hostilities, that has also taken a back seat. I want to understand from your perspective, Dr. Kohli, Iran and Oman are currently working on a way to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, but on their terms. The US is not involved, the world is not involved. They want to open the Strait of Hormuz on their terms, looking at shipping trade routes. Do you believe that, that can be something that can bring relief to the oil prices that we are currently seeing fluctuating, sir?
Not really, Shivani, because they want to impose toll on the ships passing that area, and US is against that. And we should not forget that there is heavy barricading of naval ships by US on Strait of Hormuz, which is why it remains closed till date. And there's hardly any ship. Those odd ships with the permission of US Navy pass through. So overall, I don't think toll is going to be acceptable as far as US is concerned. The only ray of hope which I feel, Shivani, in this whole matter is that President Trump doesn't seem to be too inclined to get into a kinetic war now. This is why, despite Iran launching missiles against Israel, he has asked Netanyahu not to retaliate. So which is clearly indicating the fact that President Trump now wants to find an escape route. He wants to exit, he wants to end this whole situation, but he's stuck there because he's neither able to go back nor able to move forward. So he's in a bit of a tricky situation, although that's also a bit of a ray of hope. Well, crude oil prices, my worst fear is that if aggression, again gets aggravated in the area, then Iran has threatened closure of Bab al-Mandeb, which is the Red Sea route via where Saudi Arabia was sending the oil.
Right.
So that will further step up the prices, that will take the prices through the roof because that is the only open route right now through which some of the crude is flowing through. So I think, and the Houthis are there, they have a proxy, Iran, all Houthis who are in that area, they can easily close that route. So it's a very tricky situation. I mean, I would say we should just take it one day at a time and see what are the developments. I hope some solution is found as the world economy right now is under threat of inflation, not just India, across the border, all continents for that matter, including Latin America and Australia, are under pressure as of now, Shivani.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Kohli, for that valuable perspective on this issue. Let's